Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Energize Your Online Business podcast. Hey there, Kate.
Hello.
Hello. And we should say Kate's got a little something in her throat, so we'll try to edit out as much as possible of it. But
if you're watching and see my face doing weird things, it's just illness.
Yes. Oh,
no, I shouldn't even say illness. I wouldn't be recording if I didn't feel well. Let's be honest. Let's start there. Yeah.
It's a little thing.
We're not that kind of company.
But thank you for being a trooper. And
of course, yeah.
Even though it's a little...
Talking's hard is basically what it is.
Talking's a little hard, yes. Unfortunately, yeah. Well, maybe talking will be a little bit less hard simply because this is such an important topic. Maybe your brain will catch up with your vocal cords will catch up with your brain because it's so exciting to talk about. We are going to talk about objections and specifically overcoming purchasing objections. There is, for as many reasons as there are to buy something, there are a lot of other reasons not to purchase something. And certainly that's true for anything that we purchase on daily basis. But that is, if not even more so, then at least equally so when people are looking to purchase from us. Because think too, when you're purchasing something from Apple, or you're purchasing something from your grocery store, or you're purchasing something. Yes, any purchase is inherently a risk. Something might go wrong with it. You might cut into the avocado and discover that it's green inside.
That's the worst.
Well,
not when it's green.
I mean, not
green.
Brown. When it's brown,
if it's green, that's good.
Yeah. Thank you. Cut into the avocado, discover it's brown inside. Or there might be something wrong with your iPhone or your tablet or whatever. But you know that it's a good company. You trust that company. You know that you can bring your iPhone back to Apple and say, hey, there's something wrong with this. You need to fix it, because it's a company that you know that you can rely on. But when people are purchasing from us, yes, they follow us, they watch us, they learn from us, but they don't know us. There is, because of that, because we're smaller companies, the perceived risk is a bit higher. Now, we know that we are all quality people. We stand behind everything that we sell. But for someone who is purchasing from us who does not know that yet, it's a little bit risky. And so not only is there the should I spend money on it, but there are a plethora of other questions that they're going to be asking about us, about the product, about themselves, all of these kinds of things that will be effectively reasons in their heads not to purchase. And so what we're going to talk about in this episode is we're not going to get too in depth because it's a big topic, but we're going to give you some of the higher points, some of the biggest topics that you can use to overcome these objections.
And to that point, they're going to likely be nuanced. Not likely, they will be nuanced for whatever specific thing it is that you're offering for your company to your business. And so figuring out what those objections are is first and foremost. And so you can connect with your prospects that didn't purchase and ask them, why didn't you buy? Why didn't you purchase from me? And just to get it out of the way, we talked about price, and we have a whole episode on price and value and why people will purchase anything. We talk about the iPhones all the time. And I think it's the perfect example because yes, the screen is made of glass. I just purchased a new one. I don't know why. Again, it's already scratched after like 2 days of owning it. Yeah. But we purchase it. And again, I don't know, the Pro is like what, $1,000, over $1,100, whatever. It's an expensive little mini machine. And we still purchase it if we see the value in it. And so we'll link to that episode that we have. And so I think that's the first place to start, that almost always people are going to say, well, price, it was too expensive.
You could be selling something for $7 and there will still be people that say, nah, that's too expensive. I don't want to pay that. So it's not a matter of, we'll talk about that in a second, but overcoming that price objection is not a matter of decreasing your price. It's people often go to price because it's the easiest answer that they can give you. And part of your job is going to be, as Kate's just about to dig into, is dig a little bit deeper and figure out what some of the other objections are, on top of the fact that when people mention price, you want to make sure that it is valuable to them as possible.
Yeah. But price is never the real reason. If someone wants someone bad
Almost
enough,
never.
Yeah, they will figure out a way to buy it. They will figure out how they can make this purchase, whether it's if you have a payment plan that they offer and that makes it more approachable to make the purchase, whatever it is, if they see the value in it, they will purchase it.
I like to think about college that always for
yeah.
me, like college can be hundreds of thousands of dollars and there's no guarantee you're even going to get anything valuable out of it, right? There's no guarantee that you or your child is actually even going to get a job afterwards, but people are willing to make it work to find a way to pay for potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of investments to go to college or to send their children to college. If they value it enough, people will buy something.
So when you're digging in with your prospects of why they didn't purchase, I think the biggest thing to do is to say, besides price, why didn't you make this purchase? If price wasn't a factor, if price wasn't an issue, if stop thinking about price. What are some of the other reasons to really dig into beyond that? What were there other reasons for this person? Or was it truly, hey, I don't have money in my bank account right now, so I therefore this isn't a prudent investment?
And specifically saying, aside from price, why else wouldn't you have purchased? Not just aside from price, what were the other issues or what were the other concerns? Because a lot of people people want to answer questions easily. They want to answer questions in the ways that are easiest for them. So they say, no, it's just price. No, I totally would have bought it. It was just price. But when you prompt them in the right way and you say, okay, aside from price, why else wouldn't you have purchased? They are prompted then to come up with another reason. And that's where we start to get at some of the gold.
And I think as you're digging into this too, knowing that there might be some people that you're talking with that aren't your ideal customer. And so knowing that like, that's okay that they didn't purchase. That wasn't actually the type of person that belongs in my program, that could benefit from my service, that would need this transformation or is going through this similar challenge, whatever it is. And so having those people walk away is actually an okay thing.
So yes, you want to have conversations with people. You can send surveys out, certainly, and that can be beneficial. But as much as possible, you want to also have conversations with people, because when people answer surveys, they answer them quickly. Again, like we were saying, they wanted to do things that in the easiest way for them possible. And also, too, some people are just more likely to answer surveys than others. There's still lots of valuable insight in the group of the people who just don't ever answer surveys. So as much as possible, you want to also get on the phone with people who haven't purchased and find out from them what their additional other reasons were. Now, you will, the longer you're in business, you will also just start to discover these things. You'll start to hear these things. You'll get people into your programs and say, well, I almost didn't purchase because this, and I almost didn't. Listen carefully and make a note of all of that, because if one person is thinking it, there were 100 people that were thinking it, but didn't bother to mention it to you. On top of the fact that there are also going to be just common things that we all face. Yes, price is going to be something. There are also going to be objections having to do with your program, them perhaps not believing that your program will do what it says. And we'll talk a little bit about how to overcome, of course, all of these objections. But people may not be fully bought in that your program is going to do what it says. They also may not believe that they are able to get those same results. They might say, yes, other people can get those results, but what about me? Am I going to be able to get these results? So there's a kind of a crisis of confidence when it comes to you and to your program. And there are ways to overcome that, certainly. But there can also be crises of confidence when it comes to themselves and their ability to execute on what you give them, their crisis in their own, or crisis of confidence in their own skill level, in their own ability to follow through. I know we all have purchased programs and gone, yes, I can't wait to do this, and then go, oh, I haven't logged into that for months. So these are all factors that are going to pop into people's minds, and that you want to have questions ready to address.
And so knowing what these objections are, you're going to want to use all of this information to update your messaging and make sure that you're addressing these objections before people are even, obviously before they're in your program, addressing them so that they make the purchase, so that they feel more confident in what it is you're offering, so that you are taking away the objections, really, and making sure that they understand, oh, I have every good reason to invest in this program.
Yeah, and there are really two places that you should use it. Number one, you should use this information just throughout your regular messaging. It's weave it into your regular sales story. However, you should specifically call out these objections. You should say, hey, maybe you're wondering, is this going to work for someone like me? Or, hey, maybe you're also thinking, but this is a pretty big investment. Call out these objections specifically and then answer them, because you want people to hear you saying the same things that are already in their heads. And I know that sometimes people think, well, I don't want to call objections because what if they haven't thought of this yet? And then I'm giving them this idea of a reason not to purchase. That's not how it works. Number one, either somebody's already thinking this and they're already thinking that this is going to be a reason not to purchase, in which case, bring it up and overcome it. Number two, they haven't thought about it yet, but they will at some point, in which case, bring it up and overcome it. Or third, it's something that just doesn't apply to them. It wouldn't, it's not an objection for them. It wouldn't matter, in which case it's not hurting you at all to bring it up and overcome it if it's something that doesn't even matter to them. When you are overcoming objections, you want to put all this out in the open. It looks really good for you to, number one, show that you understand what their concerns are and you get it. And number two, to be absolutely transparent. For you to say, look, I understand that you may be thinking, well, this is a pretty big investment. Is it going to be worth it? Or I understand that you may be thinking, well, I think I need to have XYZ first before I can even get involved in this program. You will have your list of objections. You will develop that entire list. But it is a good thing to just come right out and say what those objections are. And then, of course, like we're about to talk about in a moment, overcome those objections.
Yeah. People want to be validated. And that's all you're doing is you're validating their emotions.
Yes.
And if they feel like you get them, that's a huge way to connect with them. And seeing that transparency, again, builds the trust factor that you're not hiding anything, that you understand where they're coming from, and you are the right person for them to work with because you get where they're at.
Exactly. And absolutely, in fact, the first part of overcoming every objection should be truly to validate, say, like, absolutely, that makes a lot of sense that you would be concerned about that. Or yes, I agree that that's a concern. Or something along those lines, truly saying, yes, your concern makes sense. However you want to say that. Obviously, if you're overcoming a couple of different objections, you're going to want to vary that. But you need to say to them before you get into the rest of the overcoming objections that yes, what they are concerned about makes sense because it makes sense to them. Now, you're going to, in the rest of the objection, you're actually going to kind of explain to them why their concern isn't actually a factor, why their concern is not actually something that they really need to worry about. And we're going to obviously just about to get into that, but they feel it and they feel concerned about it. And so it's really important that you validate that feeling of concern and validate that they are right to feel concerned and that their feelings are valid. So before you overcome any objection, now we're talking about the actual specifically overcoming the objections portion of whatever your sales messaging is. If this is a piece of information that you're putting elsewhere, you don't have to overcome their objections if you're not talking about the objection itself. But when you are specifically overcoming objections in your portion of a video or email or something like this, the first thing that's important to say is, yes, absolutely. It makes sense that you would be concerned about that because it shows them that you understand them and you know where they are and you can see things from their perspective.
Yeah. And so to dig into some of kind of, again, broad categories, big category topics that we're talking about. And so you'll obviously want to dig in and figure out what specifics to your product, service, offer, et cetera. But trust is one of the biggest ones. If they, and I think Nicki talked about the, trust in themselves to be able to use this product service effectively to get what they need out of it, but also trust in you and your brand. So trust kind of spans a big gamut here. And so one of the ways with trust, especially, is to really demonstrate the value of your offer first and foremost. I know that that pairs well with price, but also pairs with trust as well, to say, wow, I'm getting so much value for this price. I am getting so much more than I even expected at this rate. You want people to feel like it's a deal.
Yeah, exactly. It's they need to fully understand the scope of what they're getting. But then on top of that as well, in order to trust you, it can be helpful to talk about other students who've had those same concerns. So this is a great place to bring in testimonials, especially if you have testimonials. You can get testimonials from clients who will say, "Ooh, I was nervous about investing in another course because XYZ." It's a great time to bring in this testimonial, but also talk about things that you've built into the program. And this kind of gets into the concept of them or the concern of them not being sure that they will do it or they'll follow through or that it will work for them. Talk about things that you've built into your program, because I'm sure that you have things that you've built in to help ensure that people get the results that you're promising. Maybe it's a community aspect. Maybe you do coaching calls. Maybe you have an FAQ section. Maybe you have a really great customer service team. Maybe you have a guarantee, maybe you don't, but what are the elements that you have built into your program to help ensure that people are going to get the results that you tell them they're going to get and that they're hoping to get? And then two, what of those elements will help them make sure that it's not just the program, but will help them to take action? Is there accountability because of a group? Are there milestones? Have you made it a step-by-step process? Is it really easy to follow? Do you have an accountability buddy for them? Is there any number of things, whatever you've built into the program? But if someone were to come to you and say, "Oh, I'm really worried that if I buy it, I'm not going to actually do it," what would you tell them? What things have you built into the program that will help them? And the same thing with, well, oh, I'm really sure it's not going to work for me. Okay, what have you built into your program to ensure that it will work for them? When it comes to overcoming objections, you're starting out by saying, yes, I understand that's absolutely, and that is a valid concern. You have every right to be concerned about that. But effectively, then what you're doing in the rest of your overcoming the objection is explaining to them why it's not actually a concern at all. They think it's a concern, but they think it's a concern because they don't know enough about your program. When they say, "Oh, it's too expensive," it's because they don't understand the full value. When they say, "Oh, I'm worried that it won't work for me," it's because they don't know all of the ways in which you're going to help make sure that it does. Or, "Oh, I'm just worried I won't be able to do it." It's because they don't yet know all of the ways that you are going to help them to make sure that they take action. Or, "Oh, I feel like I need to have this first." It's because they don't yet know that they don't have to have that first, XYZ first. So the crux of effectively overcoming an objection is to be empathetic, to validate their concern, but then also explain to them why it's not actually something they need to be concerned about at all. And I wouldn't use those words. I wouldn't say, "This isn't actually something you need to be concerned about," but just explain to them why it isn't.
And back to the transparency point that we said earlier, that does build this trust factor. It helps with the trust element of this. One of the things we found too with our programs is that with our copywriting program, people didn't understand. It was a little too nebulous in terms of what is this? What's the platform? They knew what they were getting in terms of the courses. But what we did was created a video that was like a dashboard tour, if you will, of a kind of behind the scenes of what the course looks like. So people could envision that end product of what they're actually getting. It made it a little more tangible. And adding that to our sales page did help increase that conversion rate because people could see what they were getting. And I think that increased that trust element of, okay, they said I was getting all of this and I see what I'm ultimately getting and getting access to. And so that helped kind of bridge that gap.
And sometimes too, a lot of objections can come from lack of clarity, right? If they don't understand what your offer can do, what the end benefit is going to be, what the transformation is, that's something that you absolutely need to explain. And you need to explain, quite frankly, when it comes to your transformation, the end benefit, that needs to be all throughout your messaging, not just in the overcoming objections. In fact, in a lot of ways, that's got to be the main element of your messaging, is understanding. And that's it's not their job to figure it out. It's our job to convey that to them. And quite frankly, good luck selling anything if we're not conveying that. But there are other elements of that too. We don't live in a world where we are the only person providing what we do. We have competitors. Maybe they're more indirect competitors, but there are other people out there, or other platforms or books or resources offering these solutions. So we also have to explain what makes us different and what makes us better from our competitors. And there are things that make us different and better than our competitors. If there isn't, then we have no business being in business, because there has to be something to differentiate us. So we have to explain those differentiation points as well, because if we don't explain what makes us different or better, they're going to go buy from somebody else. Why not? Then they're going to make decisions based solely on price. And if somebody else has something for cheaper, they're going to go buy it because we didn't explain to them why. Yes, our program is $1,000 more, but it's so much better and it's so much more effective that those $1,000, it's a bargain for the massive amount of results that you'll be getting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why do they need us versus any of the other options that are out there?
Mm-hmm.
And along with that need of why do they need us versus anyone else? Why do they need us versus being able to do it on their own? Do they need anyone at all to help with this overcoming whatever challenge to get to where they want to go?
And certainly it's probably a valid concern. With our copywriting course, for example, people who want to become professional copywriters, there is a massive amount of information out there, but the time and money it would take to go through all that information, make sure that they're only executing on the best information and avoiding making all the mistakes that the bad information would take them down, or the bad paths that the bad information would take them down. It is, when you look at it that way, it is a massive bargain for them to purchase that course versus trying to somehow pull all this information together, figure out what is the best stuff, figure out what order in which to do it. It is a massive, massive bargain. So that may be one factor for you, that it is such a time and energy savings that people purchase your course. But also it may be that it's truly they can't figure it out. Like, for example, on our Circuit Sales System brand, the brand for this podcast, could someone go out there and figure it out? No, because this is a proprietary system. That could they figure out some elements of it? Could they pull together some elements? Certainly, but to make the system work in the most effective way possible, in the way that we know works for us and works for our students and all that, they can't find it out there because it's a system that I created. They could find things, we know that there are other evergreen programs out there, and most of them just don't deliver. So that's, which gets back to the differentiator. So the idea of, can I just figure this out on my own? Also worth addressing, and worth addressing potentially from both of those angles if that's applicable for you.
Yeah. Another big bucket is urgency of, why do I need this now? Mm-hmm. So if you've overcome the need objection, or maybe you didn't have to overcome that with a certain subset of your audience, great. They know they get it. They're bought in. But why do I need to take action right now? What does it benefit me to buy this program in this moment versus waiting a month or a year or indefinitely? There's the need to make it clear that waiting, that not taking action now, is going to delay that transformation, of making them visualize where they can be if they take action now versus if they don't. And obviously the delay to the benefit to them is another place where you want to reiterate again that benefit, that end benefit, what they're getting and why it's so important to start now versus waiting.
Mm-hmm. It's so funny because people will often say like, oh yeah, I want this. Oh my gosh, I want this problem solved today. I want this problem solved yesterday. But as soon as they see a price point, they go, oh, wait, well, no, maybe I'll wait. No matter what that price point is, well, maybe I'll wait. So you have to, as you're overcoming this objection, remind them of what it is that matters to them, what this thing is that they wanted it solved yesterday, why it matters to them that it is solved, because they will have seen that price point and it will have immediately taken them to that place of like, oh, well, I don't know, maybe I'll just buy that later. Remind them why it's so important to them that they get to this solution as soon as possible, and why not only the benefit of getting to the solution as soon as possible, but the pain of waiting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that opportunity cost of like, what are you going to be missing out on if you don't take action now, and all of the good things that could come by doing it sooner rather than later. And I think the couple of things that you might hear with this one is like, I don't have time for this. Which, obviously you don't not have time for this. If this is truly a challenge or something that is important to you, then you will make the time.
But it's not the right time for me. I can't fit this in now. I have to do it later. Yeah, exactly.
And I think breaking it down for them, is it, hey, if you have 15 minutes a day, you can chip away at this.
Or if your program, like for example, on all of our programs, we have lifetime access to the core, to the course, and updates that we do on all of our brands. So, get in and take it at your own pace. Maybe you have a lot of time for the next 2 weeks and then you're going on vacation for 3 weeks. That's okay. Life happens. Everybody's schedule is different. Come back into it when you're ready for it. But now is still the best time to get started.
Yeah. And that there's never a good, I think people try to wait. Well, if I just wait till this point, my schedule will be clear and suddenly it will be free and organized and I can focus and put all of my attention on this. But that's just, as we know, not how life works. And so getting started as much as we can and chipping away and integrating it into our busy lives is going to be much more effective in imperfect action than waiting for this quote unquote like perfect time to take action. That doesn't exist. That's not real.
Exactly. And help them see that. Help them see how they can incorporate it into their lives, how they can get started now.
Yeah. And one of the ways we do that, I think, with the copywriting program is saying, hey, do this 15 minutes a day with your cup of coffee type of vibe, that this doesn't have to be something additional necessary. How can you integrate it into what you're already doing? If you're spending a few minutes, 15 minutes scrolling the news in the morning with your coffee, substituting that with this copywriting program.
Exactly.
And one of the other things that falls, I think, into this bucket as well is the idea of like, I'm not ready for this. And combating that with the idea of, okay, you might not be ready. And again, I think this goes with the, I'm waiting for this perfect time to take action, and then I'll be ready. And this is the moment I'll be ready. And getting rid of this idea that being ready is even, it's a shifting that mindset for them of you don't have to be ready, and maybe you'll never be quote unquote ready. But if you are invested and you are committed and you are able to take action, then you are in fact ready for this program.
Yeah, that you can get the results.
Yes.
Even if you're feeling unsure, even if you're feeling. Now, here's the thing. Are there some people for whom they're genuinely not ready? If you have a program about how to I'm just making this up off the top of my head, but how to use your car to build your own delivery service, and you have people that have not bought a car yet, okay, maybe they are truly not ready, but
don't have a driver's license yet. Even.
Yeah, exactly. Driver's license. That's even better. All right. So, maybe fix your meta ad targeting. But for most people, it's this concept of being not ready is actually a lot more of an internal barrier, a self-belief, a limiting belief, but like, oh, I'm not ready in my business yet, or, oh, I'm not ready in my life yet, or, oh, I'm not, because they recognize that, yeah, they want the result. Ooh, but that they're probably going to have to get a little outside of their comfort zone. So again, talking about like, we're going to take you through this. We will absolutely make it as easy for us as possible. All you have to do is commit to showing up. And just even hearing that doesn't that make it sound so much more reasonable and so much more doable? That's what overcoming objections is really fundamentally all about, is helping them clear away all of these limiting beliefs, all of these limiting ideas about why it's not going to work for them, and instead show them exactly why it will work for them and encourage them, support them to take action and get started, because they would not be reading your emails if they didn't want the result that you can give them. Objections is merely us getting in our own ways. When we have objections about purchasing, it's them getting in their own way when they want what you can give them. They want that. And it will improve their lives when we help them get there. So what we do with objections is we take away all of the stuff that's getting in between them and taking this initial action, purchasing your program, that will get them the results that they want. That's what overcoming objections is. Don't think about it in terms of it's a sales conversation, and you're not at a car dealership. You're not trying to trick anybody into doing anything. All that you're doing is you're helping them to see what the truth is. They think, oh, I can't do it. When yeah, they absolutely can. They think, oh, I'm not ready yet. When yeah, they absolutely are ready. They think I don't have time for this. Yeah, that they absolutely can make time for that, and you can show them how. That's all that overcoming objections really is helping people see what the truth is. and supporting them. And once they understand that, making the purchase, getting started with your program, and getting that result that you and they know that they want. So lots of different things to think through, but probably the most important piece of homework from this episode is if you don't yet have a list of objections, make that list. Make a list based on what you know people object to, or what you can imagine that people object to. We've given you some good examples here. And then also get on the phone, get on Zoom with people who have not purchased and find out what it was that kept them from purchasing. What were their concerns? What were their fears? What were they? So that you can put it in your sales material and help them understand that they're not actually concerns. So that's your first step. Once you've got that list, then you can kind of go back to the beginning of the episode and go through and figure out exactly what you can say to help them understand that those aren't actually even valid concerns at all.
You can even incentivize those conversations to happen if people are not willing to participate, but give them, maybe 30-minute free coaching session afterwards. And that can always honestly help potentially turn that prospect into a customer eventually. You never know. Or, a $25 Amazon gift card or whatever it is. The value that you'll gain from those conversations is worth a little bit of incentive to get them on the phone with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that is your assignment. And with that, we will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Do you want to learn how to sell and scale your offer on autopilot every single day without the chaos of live launching or the low conversions of Evergreen? Who doesn't, right? Get our free on-demand video training at circuitsalessystem.com/free. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this channel to make sure you never miss a video. We'll catch you next time.